On October 23, 1969, the San Francisco Examiner published an article about the intensive manhunt for the Zodiac Killer, who had already killed 5 people by that time, most recently the cab driver Paul Stine. The police were digging through hundreds of tips from the public. The day before, someone claiming to be Zodiac had called into a live TV talk show hosted by Jim Dunbar and celebrity lawyer Melvin Belli. The caller asked to meet Belli in person, but was a no-show at their prearranged meeting point.
So inside the thrift shop, St. Vincent de Paul, attorney Melvin Belli and the San Francisco police waited for the Zodiac Killer. The man did not show.
Meanwhile, 3 people who had heard Zodiac's voice listened to the tapes from the Jim Dunbar show.
I have headache since I killed a kid.
Nancy Slover was a secretary at the Vallejo Police Department and took Zodiac's phone call when he reported his Blue Rock Springs attack.
Vallejo Police Department.
I want to report a double murder.
May I have your
If you
name
go 1
and
mile
where you're calling?
east on Columbus Parkway, they were shot with a 9mm Luger. I also killed those kids last year. Goodbye.
Deputy Sheriff David Strait of Napa heard Zodiac when he called to report his Lake Berryessa attack.
Napa Police Department. I want to report a murder. No. A double murder. I'm the one that did it.
And survivor Brian Hartnell heard Zodiac's voice during the knife attack that claimed Cecilia Shepard's life at Lake Berryessa. But when they heard the tapes of the so-called Zodiac who called in to the Jim Dunbar show, they didn't recognize the voice. The article mentions other interesting leads that unfortunately went nowhere. Historic Fairmont Hotel is not far from where Zodiac is believed to have gotten into victim Paul Stine's taxicab. A waitress there told cops that during the Jim Dunbar broadcast, she served coffee to a man who looked like the Zodiac sketch. She saved the coffee cup and saucers so police could check for fingerprints. Another lead was a green Volkswagen that circled the block a few times. Police learned it was leased to a former convict, but he was apparently not Zodiac. The San Francisco Examiner article about the hunt for Zodiac also had an unusual message to the killer. The article didn't refer to the cipher at all. It just appeared there with the caption, "A message to Zodiac." It appeared in the same paper the day before, too. The cipher used the same kinds of symbols Zodiac used in his own ciphers. What was this mystery message to Zodiac? Can we try to break it? Let's assume it's a simple substitution cipher. It has a length of 44 symbols, but 34 of them are unique. Here, the 10 duplicates are grayed out. So I think we can probably find more than one solution, because the cipher is too short and there aren't enough repeating symbols. Code-breaking software such as AZ Decrypt has trouble with this cipher because it's so short and has so many unique symbols. It leads to messages that are readable but don't make total sense. In a separate experiment, I found a key that gives this message, which is readable but also doesn't make much sense. Safety, you are always in control, be Isaac, and besides. And I found many others which have some spelling errors but are still kinda readable. I'm sure if we try hard enough, we can find even more that have no spelling mistakes in them, so it might seem hopeless to find the right answer. But there is a right answer. In 2013, Brax Cisco, known as Glurk on the Zodiac forums, posted the solution to the cipher. It reads, Zodiac, call Libra 4331077. How did Brax solve it? Well, it ended up being extremely simple. All you have to do is apply the known key from Zodiac's first cipher, shown here. It shows how to translate the cipher symbols to letters. Let's apply it to the message to Zodiac cipher. The decoded message says, Zodiac call Libra 4331077. Why is Zodiac spelled with an S? Well, Zodiac didn't use the letter Z in the message in his 408 cipher, so the 408's key is missing the letter Z. Whoever made this message had to use an S instead. The message sounds like a phone number. Let's change the words into digits. Now it looks like we have a 7-digit phone number. But what is Libra? Does it reference the area code? Brax pointed out that L is next to the 5 on telephone keypads, so maybe it was a way to refer to San Francisco area code 415, since this was in the San Francisco Examiner paper. Or what if Libra was a pseudonym or a nickname of the person who would pick up the phone if Zodiac had called the number? Or maybe it's simply that Zodiac sign Libra is represented by the scales of justice. So maybe they're suggesting to Zodiac that justice will be served if he calls the number and talks to the authorities. Incidentally, the cipher started appearing in the papers on October 22, 1969, which falls under the Libra sign. So it seems quite clear that this decryption is correct because it uses the same key as the 408 and produces a sensible message. I still wonder, what if this cipher had not used the 408's key? Could anyone have solved it? I think it would have been extremely challenging, since earlier we saw that we can get many different readable answers. At the time, Brax found that the phone number in the cipher was, more recently, associated with a law office, which kinda makes sense. Maybe whoever made the cipher wanted Zodiac to talk to a lawyer. But it's not clear who owned the phone number back in 1969 when the cipher was published. Maybe someone can do some more research and figure that out. A few years later, the same number showed up again in the classified ads of the same paper. It's interesting that the ad starts with the word Virgo, another sign of the Zodiac, like Libra in the Zodiac message. It's even right next to Libra on the Zodiac. Then the ad says, "Call me, Ed, at 433-1077. Who's Ed? Is this really the same phone number referenced by the cipher, or just a coincidence? What if someone decoded the cipher and instead of calling the number, posted a classified ad? Is Ed editor, like Zodiac frequently addressed in his letters? Fast forward 10 years, to 1983, and we can find the number again, in the same paper, in an ad for Office Space. Maybe by then the same phone number just passed to new owners. It would be interesting to find out who really owned the number back in 1969. Maybe it was just one of the numbers owned by the San Francisco Examiner. The mystery of the origins of this message to Zodiac cipher was resolved by the book The Cases That Haunt Us, written by legendary FBI profiler John Douglas and his collaborator Mark Olshaker. They say that American Cryptogram Association President Dr. D.C.B. Marsh was responsible for the cipher challenge to Zodiac. Using the Zodiac's own code, Marsh composed a message providing a phone number for the Zodiac to call when he had a coded message that did actually contain his identity. Dr. Marsh's challenge, published in the San Francisco Examiner, went unanswered. Around the same time, the Examiner published an article about Dr. Marsh daring Zodiac to include his real name in a cipher. He thought Zodiac would be too afraid to do that because an expert would break the cipher and Zodiac would be captured. So, he challenged Zodiac to make a cipher, however complicated, that truly includes his name. Well, in fact, Zodiac did make a cipher. About 2.5 weeks after Dr. Marsh's challenge, Zodiac mailed his infamous 340 cipher. Did he send it because of Dr. Marsh's challenge? Would the 340 cipher even exist at all if Dr. Marsh had never made the challenge? And what if Zodiac really did accept the challenge and put his name in the cipher somehow? We have the solution to it now, but did he come up with some clever way to further hide his name and we just haven't found it yet? This is a very tantalizing possibility. I'm sure we'll all be digging for names in the years to come. Zodiac himself claimed his identity would be in the 408, but his name was never found in it, though many names were proposed over the years. And maybe we haven't found a name in the 340 because it really doesn't have one. Maybe he's just screwing with us, like trying to scare people with a bomb that was never found. But about 5 months after the 340, Zodiac sent his 13-character cipher, and heavily suggests a name is involved.
This is the Zodiac speaking. By the way, have you cracked the last cipher that I sent you? My name is...
If this cipher isn't hiding a name directly, maybe it's a hint about some way to find it in the 340. Did Zodiac really put his name in his ciphers somewhere and beat Dr. Marsh at his game? After all, it's been 53 years, and we seem to be no closer to knowing who Zodiac is. This wasn't the only time that people tried to send messages to Zodiac or draw him out in other ways. On October 19th, the Examiner very prominently splashed a message to the Zodiac on their front page. The message asks Zodiac to give himself up and offers him fair treatment, medical and legal help, and to tell his story. They also give a different phone number for Zodiac to call. Imagine Zodiac's reaction seeing that. His attacks and letter-writing campaign were paying off. He was getting the attention he wanted. Would a news outlet do something like this today? I doubt it. I wonder how many people called that number or the one from the cipher, and if the Examiner or police recorded any interesting calls. 2 days after that, the Examiner included a smaller version of the message on their front page, with the same phone number, offering to help Zodiac if he phoned in. Around the same time, a man calling himself Blaine published a response to the Examiner message in an underground counterculture newspaper called the Berkeley Tribe. Blaine is known for suspecting Richard Gatkowski to be the Zodiac Killer. In Blaine's message, he asks Zodiac to stop killing, but warns against turning himself in to the police, who, along with the government, Blaine feels are also murderers. On the same day as Dr. Marsh's cipher challenge, the Examiner posted another challenge from Joe Stein, the brother of Zodiac victim Paul Stein. Joe was a mechanic working at a service station in Modesto. He gave his work schedule in the newspaper and dared Zodiac to come and get him.
If he makes an attempt on me, I definitely can handle him.
What do you think are the chances that he will contact you, Joe? Are you in fear of your life right now?
I figure a percentage, his attempt will be about 99% against.
2 days later, a student-run paper called the Stanford Daily ran a humorous, satirical version of the Examiner's plea to Zodiac. The next day, a classified ad from Dayton Daily News reporter Dale Huffman appeared in the Examiner. He asked Zodiac to send his diary and other biographical info, and offered to give Zodiac medical and legal help. He also offered to write a novel and articles about him. The ad had a phone number for Zodiac to call. A month later, a tabloid paper called The National Tattler published a column by celebrity astrologer Sidney Omar, in which he made his own enciphered message to Zodiac. He gave a hint about how to decrypt it by using his book Thought Dial, which describes converting the astrological symbols into letters. An advertisement in the article includes Thought Dial, as well as other books by Omar. This dude really knew how to hustle his merchandise. Fun fact, he sold over 50 million copies of his astrology forecast books. Anyway, the wheel on the cover of Thought Dial looks like a substitution key, and the symbols there look like the ones in the cipher. So let's try replacing the symbols with the numbers from the key. Now we have these numbers. In numerology, it's common to use a number substitution cipher. The key looks like this. It's basically just the alphabet with the letters numbered in order. Let's apply this key to our numbers. Well, this result makes no sense. Let's go back and look at our numbers again. Turns out they only use the digits 1 through 9. But our number substitution key has numbers from 10 through 26 that aren't used, so all these letters aren't being used. Another common thing to do in numerology is to add digits together until only one number remains. For example, in the key, M is 13. If you add 1 and 3, you get 4. S is 19. If you add 1 and 9, you get 10. Then if you add 1 and 0, you're left with 1. So let's do that for all of the numbers that are bigger than 9. Now, since some numbers are assigned to more than one letter, let's draw the key with the number first, so we can see the groups of letters. And when we look at our cipher's numbers again, we can pick from multiple letters, which makes things a little more tricky. Let's start with this small word, enciphered by the numbers 3 and 7. If we look up 3 in our key, we have 3 letters to pick from. And when we look up 7, we also have 3 letters to pick from. Which ones do we pick? We can use trial and error, or look at every possibility. Here are all the possible combinations of choices. The only one that looks like a sensible word is up, so let's use that. Now let's try this one, 2, 6. Here are the possible combinations from the key, and let's go with the word 2 because it's such a common word. What about this first word, enciphered by 7945? Since 4 key entries are involved, there are a lot more possibilities. Here are all of them. Luckily, none of them seem to be valid words except give, so let's go with that. For the second word, here are all the possibilities. Once again, there's only one good possibility. This time, it's the word self. The only other one I noticed was jeu, which means games in French, but I'll ignore that because the other words so far are in English. The final word has even more possibilities, since it's the longest word in the cipher. As before, most of the words are garbage, but a careful eye can spot an important one: Belli. Surely a reference to celebrity attorney Melvin Belli, who tried to speak to and meet with Zodiac. So the final answer seems to be give self up to Belli. This solution was found years ago by several folks on the Zodiac forums. One of the most unique schemes to try to catch Zodiac was by actor and director Tom Hansen. In 1979, he made a low-budget film called The Zodiac Killer, loosely based on the real Zodiac case. When it premiered at a San Francisco theater in 1971, audience members were presented with a raffle for a chance to win a motorcycle. People could handwrite a raffle entry and drop it into a large box. Supposedly, a volunteer was hidden in the box and compared raffle handwriting with samples from Zodiac. The idea was that if the volunteer thought the handwriting was suspicious, he could alert other volunteers to stop and interrogate the suspect. I guess the scheme didn't work, but it was a nice idea. It's interesting to see all the different ways people tried to flush out Zodiac on the heels of his crime spree. He had just killed the taxi driver Paul Stein in a big city, breaking his pattern of attacking young couples in secluded spots. He sparked a massive manhunt and intense public interest and fear. Perhaps Dr. Marsh's attempt to reach out to Zodiac was fruitless. He dared Zodiac to make another cipher message for the crypto experts to analyze. I still wonder if Zodiac mailed his 340 cipher as a response to Dr. Marsh's challenge. Would he have mailed that and his next ciphers if he hadn't been challenged? Dr. Marsh wanted Zodiac to hide his name in a cipher. Maybe we don't have the full solution to the 340 and there's a name hidden in it somehow. Or it really is in his 13-character cipher. To everyone who's looking for his name, keep looking. Maybe you'll get lucky and find something. Are there any other messages to Zodiac that I've missed? Leave them in the comments. As always, help support my channel by clicking the like and subscribe buttons. Thanks for watching.